Welcome to the Grad-Titude podcast, where we discuss all things growth, personal development, and community. I am your host, Geraldine Naomi Diaz, here to spread love, light, and value. Today, I have a special guest with me, Hady Mendez. Hady is the founder and CEO of Boldly Speaking LLC. She has a career that spans over 25 years working in different areas, such as being the head of equality for a major tech company. She also worked multiple customer facing roles in big tech companies and in the financial sector as well. She served as a leader in many spaces such as employer resource groups and schools. She is relentless in her pursuit of equality and helping others. Her vision is to align with and help to lead an organization working to promote racial equity, gender equality, and poverty reduction. Fun fact, Javi and I met when I moderated a panel that she was discussing imposter syndrome during the 2022 Women Who Create Summit. Thank you so much for joining me, Javi. I'm very happy to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me. Hello, audience. Hello, everybody. Good to be here.
Yes, so we'll go ahead and jump right into the interview now. So I asked all of my guests this because it's true Grad-Titude podcast fashion. So I want to know from you, what are you grateful for today?
Yeah, that's a good question that made me kind of think and reflect. But I would definitely say, hands down, it's my health that I'm most grateful for right now. So I would say about 6 months ago, I was dealing with like really bad headaches that like no one knew like where the headaches were coming from. And then I had like really bad stomach pain, and just like my blood tests were coming back with like weird results. And just, there's a word in Spanish, I think it's called achaques. I had like a multitude of achaques. Like, it's like everything was like, y me duele esto, y me duele lo otro, and I just couldn't explain it. Like, and I was like, damn, if I feel like this now, like, how am I going to feel like 20, 30 years from now? So the good news is that I changed my diet and I started to exercise a lot more. And that really, really has helped me. So I'm on a plant-based diet now. I still eat a little bit of fish and seafood, but I'm mostly not eating meat and no dairy. And that has really, really helped me to just feel more balanced, more well, no symptoms, no random stuff going on. And I just feel like it's the combination of the diet and the exercise that has really contributed to the health that I am so grateful for today.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know that it's definitely not easy dealing with any health concerns that come up. And especially, I don't know about you, but I'm super dramática. Like, cualquier cosa que me pasa, anything that happens to me, I'm just like, ay, Dios mío, I'm gonna die. I remember I was having back problems when I first graduated college, and my parents had to push me around in a wheelchair because I couldn't walk. And I was like, what if I'm never able to walk again? And my parents were like, relax, like, chill out. And they were they grounded me at that moment. But it really can be very, very scary to deal with certain things, and especially in our communities that these things are so prominent, like diabetes, heart disease, and all these other issues. And it's like, we just keep eating, and then it's like you have to finish what's on your plate. A lot of people don't really exercise as they get older. So this makes me want to pivot actually to a different question. I know that it was the health concerns that got you to change up your lifestyle, but I want you to talk more about the lifestyle changes that you've made, and even how they've helped your mindset, for example, how they have helped you mentally.
Yeah, I mean, I think this kind of spills into a little bit of self-care, at least it does for me, because I feel like that is what I needed. I talked about like these changes all happened in the last 6 months. The other thing that happened in the last 6 months is that I got laid off. And when I got laid off, I was like, me tengo que cuidar, like that has to be a priority now to get well, to kind of like even get to the point where I felt like I was well and then stay well. And to stay well, I've had to really change some lifestyle habits. They say like, when you lose weight, and a lot of that is like it's a lifestyle change. You can't approach it like I'm trying to lose 10 pounds and then I'm going to go back to the way I was, eating the way I did. It's like, no, you can't do that. Now you have a new way of looking at the world and walking through the world. So yeah, I think, it's everything from like making sure I get lots of rest and I create like optimal situation to rest. I have like this weighted blanket that I really like that helps me sleep better and it helps with anxiety. I have like this nice silk pillowcase that I use to make sure my hair stays nice and my face doesn't get wrinkles.
I
And
love that.
yeah, and like, you know, those little stones, the Asian stones that you use to like
The
pasarte por
gua
el
sha,
plato. Yeah, so you
that's
could
how
just
you pronounce it.
mine are in the refrigerator and I'm just like, you know, making sure I'm keeping my face nice. It's everything. It's like it's it's beauty and health and wellness, but it's inside and outside. But I feel like it starts inside. So like
Yes.
once you're eating and drinking more water, I have eliminated alcohol. I drink some caffeine, but like I keep it to about half a cup of like cold brew. And then usually it's just like tea after that. I don't drink soda. Like there's just a lot of things that I've incorporated and that just keeps me steady. I get my energy mostly from food, so if like I could drink like a cup of freshly squeezed orange juice, that's better than a coffee or a latte any day of the week for me, because that's going to give me like the energy that I'm really looking to sustain me. And anyway, yeah, I feel like more sharp. I feel more steady, which is really helpful. So I don't have these like, like I'm feel really high and then I come crashing down. Um, and that's helped me a lot with just like approaching the job search, because the job search is like, it's frustrating. It's some days you get really down. You feel sadness, grief, frustration. You get down on yourself. You're like, I'm not enough. I thought I was great, but like, what happened? I'm not getting the traction that I thought I would be getting by now. So I think the keeping steady on the food, diet, and exercise side has helped with all of that, because I don't feel these extreme reactions, very little of those. So I'm just more steady, more grounded, more, calmadita. That's just been really helpful to me.
I love that. And also for anybody that's seeing this visually as well, since we do have a video on YouTube, you look great. You look amazing. Like you're shining from the inside out. So I definitely feel like it's an ode to the way that you've been taking care of yourself, because it really does start on the inside, like you said. And you did mention a very important topic as well. So you were laid off a couple months ago, and I remember seeing your post on LinkedIn, and I was like, Hady? No way. Like she's that girl. Like y'all made a mistake. And despite all of this, you've still been taking care of yourself. You've still been very, very active on socials. And you're not somebody that's just like putting up whatever on socials, because, sometimes people get laid off or they get fired, you quit, whatever it may be. Now everybody's on LinkedIn like spraying and praying and writing things that are maybe not as meaningful or like very inauthentic to who they are, but you are authentic as they come. And I love, love, love the content that you put up. It's very enriching. You're talking about speaking at different events and so much more. And I'd love to know how you find the balance to do everything that you do, because while you may not be working a 9 to 5 job right now, like you started your own company, which we'll dive more into later. But I just want to know, like, what are some of your favorite things to do for self-care?
Okay, so I'll talk about the balance a little bit, and then I could talk a little bit about the self-care, if that's okay with you, because I think those are a little bit two different things, but I want to talk about the balance because I think it's an important topic. And I actually have felt that I have struggled with it, so I think when I first got laid off, I was spending a lot of time networking, because that's like my go-to. Like I'm a very relational person. So it's like
You
I just
are.
started reaching out to everybody. I'm like, hey, what do you have going on? Who do you know? What openings do you know about? And what conferences and where can I talk? Like I was trying to do all the things. And I think I was like launching a business, trying to find a full-time job and staying connected to people at the same time. And like, there was a little bit of urgency around that for me. So I felt like it was off because I just felt very overwhelmed. I didn't feel like I was really making good progress. And at the time I had a coach and we kind of talked about it. And I was like, I feel like I'm spending the whole day talking to people and I'm not even like, I don't have time to do anything else. So we
Hmm.
agreed that it was like, well, then just maybe spend half the day, like maybe talk to people in the morning when you have energy, and then spend the afternoon for yourself. Just if you want to go for a walk, if you want to just take a long lunch, if you want to like meet some, like maybe have like an in-person meeting with somebody, or just like be by yourself. Because, like, even though I'm super extroverted, I like, I need to also time to just
Yeah.
re-energize. Yeah. So I had to find that balance, and I started, even to this day, 6 months later, I book my afternoon. So from 2 to 5, that's my time. And sometimes I open it up for other people, but it's like it's almost like you have to ask permission and be like, hey, I want to, talk to you. And if, usually for an interview, obviously I'm going to open up the time. But other than that, like, I'll send people my calendar, and I'm like, we're going to work with the time that I have available, because some of this time I need to like really hold the line. I need to,
Set those boundaries.
yeah, set the boundaries, and I just can't give up my afternoons that I need a little bit to restore, and just maybe apply for jobs, or maybe follow up on stuff, or maybe research for an interview that I'm going to have, or whatever. It doesn't matter what I'm going to use it for. I just want some time for me. And I'm telling you, like, when I was working, especially when I was a customer success manager, I always had like meetings back to back to back to back to back. And I had to be like, go to the bathroom, have lunch, go for a walk. So like, I kind of like, I think I was so used to that I just kind of maintained that kind of schedule, and there was really no need to do that. So I shut that down. Then I feel like I went a little bit the opposite direction, and I was like, conferences, in-person events. That wasn't working for me either. Like, all of these, obviously, it's not like I'm going to get a job because I go to a conference, but you plant seeds, you meet people, you talk to people, you connect. Maybe like you have a good conversation with somebody, they introduce you to somebody else. So everything is like potential opportunity, planting seeds. But I definitely felt like I was like investing a little too much time in the speaker part of my business, and not really focused on like finding the 9 to 5 full-time job that I really wanted. And so in the end, I would say probably over the last couple of months, I was like, okay, my priority is finding a job. I need to find a job. That's what is most important to me. And so that is where I need to spend the vast majority of my time and my day. And if that means cutting back time that I spend as a board member, as a mentor, as a coach, as a whatever, a friend, a family member, I need to shut some other things down and set my boundaries, set clear boundaries, and stick to them. So balance is very important. And like I said, I have personally felt like I struggled. I was like, oh, I'm a little bit too much this side. Okay, now I'm a little bit too much that side. But I feel like now I'm getting more of the results that I want. So that is encouraging to me, because that makes me feel like I'm striking the right balance. Finally, I'm getting to the point where I need to be. So it took me a couple of months to get there.
I love that. And thank you for also just being honest about it, because a lot of people, especially on social media, they'll just be like, yeah, it just kind of happened overnight. I found this balance. And it's like, no, no, you're lying. You're 100% lying. But that's never been the case with you. You were gonna say something. You look like you were gonna say
Oh
something.
yeah, because I just realized I never answered your question about self-care. I don't know if you want to go there next. I forgot about that.
Go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, so I already talked about the eating well part, and just so everybody knows where that came from, because it is a very important thing to me, but there's a reason. And it's because I'm lactose intolerant, and I also have a gluten allergy. And so I've always been really, really like mindful of what I eat, but I still had, like, let's say French fries is dairy free and it's gluten free, but it's not really adding a lot of value to my diet. So I don't really mess with French fries in particular. I like potatoes, so I might boil some potatoes and add them to a salad with like a little olive oil and lemon, but I don't have French fries. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of give a little bit more color to that, because that was a large reason why food is such a big one for me. And like, sometimes I feel like it's the balance thing. I was like, well, I had such a shitty day at work, or I had such a hard week. I'm gonna have the French fries, or I'm gonna go out and have like some cocktails just to treat myself. And then I end up feeling so sick. And it was like, that's not how you're good to yourself, Hady. You're good to yourself when you don't do that. Not the is the
Yeah.
opposite of what like the mindset I had. I had to like shift it and be like, no, you're good to yourself when you eat the things that you should be eating, because then you feel better. And then you could like be more present. You could do more activities. You could say yes to more stuff, because a lot of times I say no to things because I'm like, somebody be like, you want to come to barbecue? I'm like, them people ain't gonna have no kind of food I can eat in the house. I'm not going to that barbecue. Cause it's just like, I know I'm not gonna,
Exactly.
or an event, like, I'm like, they're not gonna have good stuff at the happy hour of that event. I'm not gonna go. And so now I'm like, okay, I'll bring a bar with me. It's a meal substitute. If I don't find anything to eat, then I'll just have the bar. I know the bar, I can eat it and I feel good, and it'll kind of suppress my appetite for a little bit. And then I can go and have, whatever I want to have when I get home. And so just being a little bit proactive in that regard, I've been kinder to myself. And I feel like, I had a little bit of a different mindset early on, but also some other things. I get a lot of sleep. Like I said, rest is important to me. I have like all the things in my bed situation
Same.
like that I like. I balance alone time with connecting with other people, because like I said, even though I'm an extrovert, I have like that part of me that really does need to just, I don't want to deal with people right now. I'm pretty good at saying no. And sometimes I say yes. And then I'm like, no, like, Hady, don't even kid yourself. You have to say no. So I have been that person that says, I might say yes to something, and then like the next day I'll be like, by the way, I'm sorry, but I am going to have to say no. And, hopefully in a couple of months, things have changed for me, but like, this is my priority right now. And I was at a board meeting yesterday and someone was like, oh, hey, can you like be the lead for this? I'm like, I can't say yes to anything because I'm trying to find a job. That's the most important thing for me now. I truly apologize that I am not, contributing more at this time, but I'm not able to, sorry. And that's the
Exactly.
reality. And yeah, and I like everybody else. I like a good massage. And another way that I like kind of like chilling out is like, besides reading, listening to a podcast, I also like taking pictures, and I take pictures of street art. And that's really fun
Me
for me and
too.
gratifying. Oh, well, we have to exchange Instagram handles. I put myself on Instagram, and yeah,
Yes.
so we should exchange so we can see each other's work.
Yes, I'm really big into art too. It's so crazy. I was just in Canada a couple days ago and I was like, "Oh my gosh, they have such nice art here." And I remember going to Philly a couple months ago too and I'm like, "Wow, the art here is beautiful. Like it's just so nice." And
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know how this correlates to your mental health, but I feel like if there's more art on the side of buildings, people's mental health will be better. Like it's just something about seeing bright colors and seeing people's visions come to life. Like you thought about this in your head and you brought it to life. There's something so beautiful about that. Well, you did mention something earlier about saying no to people, and I want to emphasize the point that it is okay to say no to people because saying no to people means that you're saying yes to yourself.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to do that sometimes. I feel like oftentimes we want to be yes men and want to be here, there, and everywhere all at once. And it's like, you can't do that sometimes. You really have to slow down and put yourself first and figure out what your priorities are and set those boundaries. And it may not be easy, especially growing up in our communities. Like, what are boundaries? You know, your parents don't know about no boundaries. Um, your siblings may not know about no boundaries. Little cousins may not know about no boundaries, but you have to be the one to set that for yourself because if not, you're going to continue getting walked all over. You're continue feeling burnt out as well. So it's very, very, very important to be able to say no. So thank you for bringing that up.
And you don't even need like a real reason either. That's the other thing that I feel like sometimes I'm like, I feel the no in my like belly, but I'm like, but why? Why do I want to say no to, like, why is this coming up for me? And I'm like, what is it competing with? Or what is it that I want to do instead? And it's like, so that word, sometimes I try to rationalize it, but you don't really need to. Like, you just might say no. And then you end up like going for a walk that day and like sitting in the park and watching the dogs play. And that's your business. If that's what you want to do with your time and that fills your cup,
Exactly.
eso es asunto tuyo.
Exactly. That's what fills your cup. Like, go ahead and do it. But we really do need alone time sometimes. And also, I relate to you 100% in the sense of like, I'm an extrovert. And it's so funny because my friends are like, you're such an extrovert. But like now, like when I was in college, I was like everywhere. I'm just like, yeah, yeah, let's go. I had energy all the time. And now I'm just like,
Yeah.
my priorities are shifting. Like I can't just be um outside all the time. Like I need to be inside by myself. I love being alone now, and it's something that I used to not enjoy, but now I'm just like give me my alone time. Like give me my time to be with a good book. Give me my time to just being laid up in bed watching Love Island because I value those moments so much because I have so much going on. Especially for somebody go ahead.
No, I wanted to tell you, and please finish your thought, and then I'm going to tell you something because you mentioned Love Island. So I want to make a recommendation if you about a show if you haven't seen it yet.
Yes. So, yeah, but I feel like those are such good moments for me because I'm always on the go, especially during this season of my life. That's a very busy season in terms of work and in terms of building my speaker business, building my author business. Like, there's just a lot going on. So, those moments of just like, I could sit here and watch Love Island. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, if I'm gonna lay up in bed and watch Love Island during my lunch break and just vibe out because that's what's filling my cup right now.
Yep. I just feel like we should be unapologetic about what we need. And, I think a lot of what we're conditioned to is to like, just, have a reason. Like I wanted, yeah, I'm the reason I'm choosing this is because of this. And it's like, you don't really need to have like a good reason. That's just that's what you're feeling right now. That's it. Punto. Like, anyway, that's my perspective anyway. I wanted to tell you about, recommend a show to you if you haven't watched it yet. It's called The Horror of Dolores Roach. Have you heard
I
of
have
it?
not.
It's so good. It's on Amazon Prime. And the lady who stars in it she's Latina. And there's a lot of Latinx people in the show. Not only Latinx, there's other people, but the stars are like Latinx. And other people of color too. But the star is the lady who was in the remake of One Day at a Time. Do you know that lady? I don't know the name of that actress.
I don't think so.
Let me look her up. Um, it's a phenomenal show. It's like it's dark comedy. So it's like got some gruesome stuff in it, but no, tremendo. It's a phenomenal show. I'm trying to look up the name of the actress and I haven't gotten it yet.
Okay, well, I'm definitely gonna check it out, and I hope
You
that
got
whoever
to.
hears this podcast episode also checks it out. The Horror of Dolores Roach, you said, right, on Amazon.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, perfect. I'm definitely gonna go ahead and check it out. And while you bring up who the actress is, I have another question for you.
Okay.
All right. So I want to ask you, what pushed you to show up authentically and post videos and pictures of yourself on platforms like LinkedIn that oftentimes isn't catered to people like us of our background and who are comfortable being authentically themselves?
Yeah, I'll start off by saying that, like, honestly, being authentic is not like something that like I gravitated to recently. It is something that is very much a part of who I am and has been always.
Same.
Yeah, like I remember when I was like in a sales position for the first time, I was like, ooh, I don't want to be like a car salesperson. Yeah,
Same.
like I just viewed it as like a very dirty kind of business. And then I realized like, no, I could be a very salesperson with a lot of integrity. I could be someone who's transparent. I could be someone who really partners and builds trusted relationships. And that's the kind of salesperson I want to be and I ended up being. And so I found ways to show up as myself, even in a role that I didn't think was a suitable role for me, because I just felt like it was a dirty kind of like occupation. And so no shade to the salespeople out there. I know there's a lot of good sales people doing their thing and, kind of contributing to their family, but I didn't see it as like a something that was a good fit for me. And
Same.
then when I kind of flipped it and I was like, oh, but I could be like, someone who like they could trust and who's like really transparent and everything with them. And then I was like, yeah, I could do this job. And I was actually quite successful at it. So there's something to be said for showing up in the way that you really are. So I would say that I want to say that about authenticity, because I think that's important, because it's like kind of always been part of my brand, so to speak. But in terms of like showing up on LinkedIn, I decided a few years ago that I wanted to pivot into the DEI space. And I just wasn't getting opportunities at work to talk about my expertise and my passion and what I liked about it and how I felt about it and my point of view and my opinion and what, how I thought things could be better. And there just wasn't space for me at work to do that. And so I said, oh, then I'm going to use LinkedIn to
Hmm.
say what I want to say about this topic and share my point of view and say like how I think things should work and where I think companies should be focusing and, kind of build out my brand as a DEI, evangelist, practitioner, etc. And so that's what I did. And so a lot of people, like I was a customer success manager at work, but I had this whole other persona as like a DEI person online. And, you know, little by little, those worlds were coming together. But like, I think for some people, it was a little jarring because they're like, you don't do this. Why are you even talking about it? I'm like, well, because I have a lot of lived experience. And a lot of the time outside of work in my free time, I'm donating and investing a lot of my time and talent in racial equity and other things that are important,
Exactly.
gender equality and other things that are important to me. So like, I do have a point of view and I have a perspective that I think other people can benefit from. And so that's kind of how I started my little journey on LinkedIn to build my brand. And it was, it was a good challenge for me. That's another thing that I felt like as someone who's been in tech for many, many years, over 2 decades, I like to keep my skills fresh. And also, like I just felt like that was a good way for me to demonstrate that I understood that I cracked the code, so to speak, on at least this platform. And I feel like, whenever you can demonstrate that you understand how a platform works and how to be successful, that's good. I'm not that on TikTok, that's not my platform. I'm trying to make it work on Threads, but it's hard like that. I feel like it is quite difficult to build an online persona, and it takes a lot of time.
Yes,
It could
it
be
does.
years. It could be years in the making to like really like be established. And I feel now like I have a brand and people know me, and a lot of people approach me that I've never met. And they're like, "Oh, I know you from LinkedIn." I'm like, "Oh, hey, good to meet you in person." So like, anyway, to me, like I said, that was a good challenge to build another muscle and just have another skill set that I could talk about when, the time was right for me to talk about like, hey, what do you bring to the table? This was just something else that I could talk about.
Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you for sharing that. Also, for those of you that are unfamiliar with what DEI means, it's diversity, equity, and inclusion. Also, can sometimes be DEIB, which is diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. I also love that you took the time to almost separate yourself and like humanize yourself on LinkedIn, right? So a lot of people may go on LinkedIn and they just talk about their jobs, and a lot of people don't have identity. Not a lot of people. This is an overgeneralization, but some people don't have an identity outside of their jobs. And I feel like that's when things tend to get tricky because then you lose your job and now it's like, who am I when I'm not working? And that's the same thing when you like graduate college. Who am I when I'm not a student anymore? You have to like redefine your identity and rediscover yourself. But that's why I think that it's so important to establish a personal brand, whether it be on LinkedIn, whether it be on TikTok, if that's your platform of choice, Instagram, whatever it may be. Establishing your personal brand is very, very important because not only is it going to help you in your professional life, but it can also help you in your personal life. Like you never know if your advice can help change somebody's mindset or like help change their life in a better way. So that's why it's very, very important for us to get our voices out there and speak about the things that we're passionate about because we're not the only ones that are passionate about these things. And there's not enough spaces, especially on LinkedIn, for people like us to be authentic and talk about certain things like diversity, equity, and inclusion, or whatever other things interest us. So thank you for continuously showing up as your authentic self. And I 100% resonate with also like just authenticity is a part of who you are. It's not something that like you learned that you like took a class and it's just the type of person that you are. 100% relate to
The
that.
core. It's
Yes.
that comes de muy adentro.
Exactly. It's so funny. Somebody asked me yesterday, they're like, how did you start like voicing your opinion on LinkedIn? I said, God gave me a mouth and I don't know how to shut up. Like I can't stop talking. So I just keep talking and keep talking and keep talking. And the message is gonna resonate with who it's gonna resonate with, or it may not resonate with a lot of people. And that's perfectly fine. I said what I needed to say. I stated my opinion. Yeah, that's it.
Can
um,
I can I say something about like kind of my journey around DEI? Because I feel
of
like it's
course.
an important one, and I think it's super. I think a lot of people like probably have heard this message, and it's like I think you kind of come to a fork in the road, and I wanted to share kind of like why I chose the path I did.
Yes, I was actually gonna go there next. That was gonna be
Oh, okay,
my next
cool.
question. So your timing is perfect.
All right. Well, here's what I wanted to share, because I think as women of color, Latinas, Black women, and really anybody, even I would say just women in general, people who identify as queer, some people who identify, as a person with disabilities, like we have a lot of lived experience. So these things are naturally, this topic, this area is always going to be like quite naturally very important to us. And then there's always the option of like, you kind of go the ERG path and you just do your day job and do the ERG thing on the side,
Yep.
or you really like fully invest who you are in the work altogether. And I wanted to share that for a very long time, I loved DEI. I felt very passionate about it. And I got a lot of advice from practitioners, and the advice was always like, stay in the business. We need like managers and employees like you with lived experience and your type of mindset on the ground. So like you could be doing DEI as a manager, you could be doing DEI as a people leader, you could be doing DEI as an individual contributor, you could be doing DEI as like a team lead. You don't have to be in a DEI role. In fact, I would argue that everybody's responsibility is DEI. And if you are
Yes.
responsible for people, even more so, because now you have people that you need to, kind of make sure you're listening to them and you're seeing them and you're appreciating their contributions and you're giving them opportunities to shine and all of that stuff. And so I followed that advice for a really long time, and I just like stayed in like customer success, and I was a product manager and I did program management, and I was always kind of like low key doing DEI, but not like as a, full-time gig. And I felt like probably it was in 2020 when kind of, we had a real racial reckoning in this country, was when I finally decided that I didn't want to keep doing it from the sidelines and that I wanted to make it my full-time job. And I felt like I had a very, very strong point of view, and I felt like I had answers and a way of looking at the world and the courage to speak out that other people didn't have. And I was like, you know why? I think I could be more effective in the front lines. And I think I need to be at that table with these senior leaders and being like, no, that's not enough. And no, like what? No, it's not okay what's happening right now. And no, it's not fair that like we have one woman leader in this whole team of like 25 people. No, it's not okay that like we just have, 7% Latinx in this whole company. No, like not acceptable, not okay. And so that's kind of when I think a lot of it was me like maturing as a professional and like owning my narrative and being like, I don't have that much to lose right now. I'm just gonna
Yep.
say my piece. And it's like I'll disagree in a very respectful manner. I'm not like out to like throw anybody under the bus or like shame people. I'm not really that type of person, but like I will say what needs to be said and like say like, now we need to talk about this. Like this is not okay. Let's talk about it.
I'm
And
the
so,
same way.
yeah, so I think that's when I realized like I think I can be more effective in a actual DEI capacity. I was in tech at the time, so I naturally went for an internal DEI role, and I was the head of equality for Slack. And that was, a great opportunity for me. And now that I've been out of work for 6 months and I've had an opportunity to recalibrate, I've kind of expanded my universe of jobs and positions that I can go for. And I feel like I'm really interested potentially in a mission-driven organization, because you know, I feel like usually those are smaller, you can have a lot more impact. You could really like, I don't want to just be pointing out what's not working. I want to be instrumental in driving strategy and impact. So I want to be in a leadership role. I want to be, you know, I'm okay with being in a smaller pond and being a bigger fish. So all those things I've come to realize over time. But that was a little journey for me. And I feel like it probably was good that for 20 or so years, I was like doing the work, and I was a relationship manager, an account manager, product manager, you know, customer success manager. All those things really have shaped who I am. And I think it also makes me more effective now. You know, if I'm, let's say I partner with a sales leader to come up with strategies, I know what it's like to be on a sales team. I have firsthand experience. I'm not like imagining what it might be like. I know what it's like because I was there. So anyway, I want to share that.
Yes, thank you for that. And I really like that you mentioned that like all of these experiences ultimately added richness to who you are now and have led you to the point that you want to be at now. And I really like that you mentioned you want to be a bigger fish in a smaller pond. Like, yes, yes, and you should. So thank you for that. You dropped so many gems. We're going to pivot to something else now. So, we've spoken a little bit about your career. I want to speak a little bit more about your business now. So,
Okay.
what made you want to create Boldly Speaking LLC?
So yeah, it's for those of you who are not familiar with Boldly Speaking, it's a speaker business that I have where I talk about DEI topics. I talk a lot about, quite frankly, like self-promotion and self-advocacy, which is just like such a basic thing that people need to kind of build that muscle and learn the skill. You know, not enough people are self-advocating. Not enough
Mhm.
people are talking about the things that they're doing, and they're just not, that contributes to us not being in the places where we need to be. Like, you know, there's a little bit of give and take, and it's like sometimes we're discriminated against, and sometimes we don't do a good job of advocating for ourselves. And so let's at least fix that part of the equation where we all know how to advocate for ourselves. We all know how to say all the great things we do. We all talk about our successes. We celebrate them. We are like outspoken about them. We're not shy about it. It's not like a bad thing. It's not, you're not evil because you say like, hey, I did this great thing and I'm so excited about it. It's just, you know, you should be celebrating yourself, and other people should be celebrating you too. So I
Yes.
think like kind of reframing that is very important for everybody, but in particular for underrepresented communities need a lot of support in that regard. And anyway, so that's what my business is about. I talk about inclusion. I talk about like kind of up-leveling your ERG, making sure your ERG is very purposeful, and doing a lot of work that is going to really, you know, kind of elevate members and really bring people to the next level, because that's a large reason why ERGs exist. So the business is great. I'm glad I did it. The reason I did it, kind of, I'll be honest with you, I was thinking about it, and then I got laid off, and it was like, well, now you better do it because no te queda otra. So that's essentially what happened. It was like a big kick in the butt. And I'm like, okay, I'm starting my business now, I guess. And a lot of doors, you know, I'll be honest with you, over the last 6 months as I've been looking for work, even though I haven't been very successful in obtaining a new job and getting, you know, like getting that right opportunity, a lot of opportunities have come up for my business. And, you know, everything from like, I've been asked to write an article for We All Grow Latina, which was really nice. So like, my point of view is not just speaking, but now I'm like blogging about my point of view. I got invited to be part of a LinkedIn learning course with Dr. Escalera, who
Let's go. I know
is,
exactly, Jasmine.
yeah, Jasmine. And so that was really nice. And that, you know, kind of, I think it's helpful to just, you know, again, sharing like what's worked and being authentic, and just being like open. I feel like this business has helped me to remain open. I'm gonna be traveling to California next month to speak at the Lean In Latinas. That we have like a summit, and I'm going to be one of the featured speakers, and I'm going to be talking about like my layoff experience and how I've used it to really just stay positive and really not allow my, like, to build. I'm not saying I have all the successes in the world. You know, there's always more that I could be, you know, there could be more, even more success that I could obtain, and I'm hopeful that I will. But I feel that, you know, I didn't let the layoff just like, I didn't just sit there and be like, oh, woe is me, you know, bendito. Like, I was
Yeah.
like, oh, like, I'm going to use it to try and still like navigate circles, build relationships, stay connected to the industry, which is very important to me, build relationships with ERG leaders and other companies, talk to people about DEI. And so, you know, like the business has been a key part of me staying afloat and staying like positive and with a little bit of momentum during this time. So it was a strategic move, and it actually had quite a bit of payoff. So I think it was a really good decision, and I'm happy I went with it. And I hope to keep it even when I land my next full-time job. I hope to keep that business, because that's going to be my ticket for retirement. When I retire, I want to be a public speaker. And so hopefully I can build that reputation and those skills now, so that as I move towards, you know, kind of the second half of my career, I land in a good place.
Amen to that. You said so many good things. I also 100% relate to wanting to be a professional speaker down the line, like just building that out now. But it's so important to be able to be open, to be able to put ourselves out there. I feel like oftentimes we are like, no, I don't want to like highlight myself and all the great things that I did. But it's like, you have to let people know how great you are, because if not, they're just simply not going to know. And then you're going to be like, why am I not being celebrated? You haven't told anybody about your accomplishments. And I used to be the same way. Like, I used to be like, no, I can't put myself out there. Like, I can't tell people all the great things that I'm doing. When I was writing my first book, I was like, no, I shouldn't tell anybody about this. Now writing my second book, I'm like, the whole world is gonna know, because you guys are gonna know that I'm that girl. Like, what? But it takes time to get to that point, to be comfortable, to be able to share your
Yeah.
gift with the world. And I really do feel like it's a disservice when you don't share, you don't share the great things that you do, when you don't open yourself up. It's like, go share your gift with the world. It wasn't putting you for no reason. So go out there and
Yeah.
share.
You know, not to cut you off. So I'm sorry, did you
No, you're
finish?
good.
Because what I wanted to say too is that I think a lot of our culture, as Latinas, that plays a big role in it. And I feel like, you know, our counterparts in some cultures don't have the same problem. Like, they're like, yeah, I'm great. Here I am. You know, I'm
Taking up all the
awesome.
space in the world.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like, for better or for worse, our culture has a lot to do with why we try to be more humble and more kind of behind the scenes and kind of lay low and don't rock the boat and just kind of stay beneath the radar. And my good work will speak for itself. And it's like, no, it's not. So I do feel like one really positive thing we can do is to teach the next generation of underrepresented people that they own their narrative, and the sooner they can own it and sooner they can build it out, is the better for them, because then they don't have, you know, like, I feel like I was much more advanced in my career when I got the memo, and it's like, no, I should have been doing this years ago. But it's too late, you know, it is what it is. I found out, so now I'm using my voice now. I want people to find this out, like you said, when they graduate from school, when they're in school. And so like when they enter the workspace, they're just doing all the things they need to be doing to self-promote and self-advocate.
Exactly. I talk to my students about this all the time. I work with high school and college and recent grads. And I'm always telling them, I'm like, yo, promote yourself, like talk about yourself on LinkedIn. They're like, I have a LinkedIn, but I don't really post. And I'm like, all right, then choose your platform of choice and start talking about it. And I also do want to say something, and you may feel the same way. And I don't know if I'm overstepping saying this, but I almost feel like your layoff was a blessing in disguise to you, because I feel like it's opened so many doors for you, and it's going to continue opening so many doors, because you just have a beautiful light to you that it's like people are going to naturally gravitate towards you. So please keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I was gonna say, I think it was during a podcast that I did with Jasmine. She's like, what would you tell now, 6 months after the fact, what would you tell yourself starting out that you learned or that you found out, or like how to approach? And I said, this is going to be a beautiful time, Hady. So don't be in such a rush to get through it, because it has presented a lot of opportunity for me. I've learned a lot about myself, and I have definitely grown over the last 6 months in ways that I wouldn't have stretched and grown if I was still in the role that I was in. So I fully agree with you that it has been a blessing. And I think, people who are find themselves in other transitional type situations, it doesn't just have to be like layoff. It can be other things too. Like, we're in such a rush to get through the hard part. And it's like, but sometimes getting through the journey is where the learning and the growth comes from. And then you're going to get to that other place. I'm going to get a job, si Dios quiere,
Exactly.
I'm going to get the job. That I'm not, I'm convinced, but I'm trying to like see what do I need to be learning as I'm going through this part.
Yes, enjoying the process. I've definitely been there too in a different aspect. Yeah, related to my career, I always kept busy whenever I didn't have a job, but also in terms of weight loss process. I'm like, wow, I used to be like, wow, this has taken forever. And now I'm like, I love going to the gym. I love fueling my body with the right foods. I love drinking water. Like, there's just something about a nice cup
Yes.
of water after you wake up in the morning. Like, little things like that, but it really is about trusting the process and falling in love with the process, even in the midst of what may seem like a chaotic point in your life. Like
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
transformations are needed.
Yeah, and I think it speaks volumes for about a person who can maintain that level of hope and faith and courage and steadfastness and perseverance in the midst of chaos, uncertainty. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. I really don't. I act like I do, but I don't. But I trust the universe. I feel like I am being cared for. And like I said, unexpected doors are opening. And I'm like, okay, not what I thought, but let me walk through, let me step through and see where this takes me.
Exactly. I feel like you have what Lisa Nichols says. She's one of my favorite professional speakers. You should check her out if you haven't.
I'm writing her name down.
Yes, Lisa Nichols. And for anybody listening as well, Lisa Nichols is a gem. She always says like, oh, you have to have unshakable faith. You have to have unshakable faith in yourself. Like no matter what comes, or you may get knocked down 99 times, but you never know if the 100th time it's gonna be like that's gonna be the shot that you needed, type of thing. But yes, having unshakable faith
Love
in
it.
everything that you do is so, so, so important.
I love that term. That's a beautiful term. Gonna steal
Thank
it.
you, thank you. Shout out to Lisa Nichols. All right, so we're coming up on the end of the interview, and I have two more questions for you.
Okay.
So I want to know, what does community mean to you?
Yes, community. Community to me means being there for other people, especially when they need it the most. It means that you're going to be there for the good times and the bad times. Like, can't be that fair weather friend. And it's just like, oh, we're going to be friends and buddies when the good times and na que tú estás pobre, vete para allá. Like,
Yeah.
we need people to be standing right next to us in the good and the bad. Someone who's going to be offering support and encouragement, when they see that the other person needs it. Celebrating each other's achievements. As I was like trying to think about community, I was thinking of the people in my world, in my orbit. And I'm like, we're there to celebrate each other. We're like the first one to be like, hey, yeah, like when somebody says, I got the book deal, I did this, like, yes, I love it. And it's like, there's not that scarcity mindset where I'm like, what? She got that, like odiosa or like whatever. It's like,
Like you're
no,
genuinely
it's for
happy.
everybody. We're gonna celebrate everybody. I think you want to think of each other when there's opportunities. So like when there's an opportunity coming around, like it's like, ooh, I'm gonna tell such and such about this. Ooh, I'm gonna invite this person to that event. Like checking in on each other, especially when you haven't talked to somebody in a while. Like just checking in. You good? Like how's it going? Let's get together. But like in the meantime, you good? Giving people space when they need it. So like just knowing not to be like suffocating. It's like, oh, what's going on? It's like, no, give me, I need a timeout. So like, vete para allá. And then, seeing the good in the other person, especially when sometimes they can't see it in themselves. And I would say like, that's been something that's been helpful to me when people are like, you're great. You're like someone's going to be so lucky when they snatch you up. And I'm like, thank you. Like, I want to believe that, but like, thank you for affirming me. So I feel like your people, your community, they do all those things for you.
I 100% agree. And it really is just a richness in having community. And I was mentioning this to some other people the other day, some friends, that we're like in the middle of a loneliness epidemic right now. So we are in need of community now more than ever before. And that's why I like to ask people this question. All of my guests get asked, what does community mean to you? Because I want us to remember how important community is and also to recognize that you're not alone in this journey we all call life.
Thank
So,
you.
my last question for you is what are three pieces of advice you would like to give our audience?
I think I have kind of talked about almost all my advice, maybe with the exception of one. So first and foremost, I think it's obvious that it's really important to believe in yourself, in your abilities. No one's really gonna like, you gotta be your biggest fan. I
Yes,
think it's what it boils down to. Like you have to have that think highly of yourself, and that kind of like permeates to other people. And if you don't feel that way about yourself, kind of on I would kind of double click and be like, why don't I feel good about myself? Why don't I believe in myself? Why don't I feel like I have the abilities I need, or that I feel proud of, and like work on that. Like that's an opportunity. Then if you're not really feeling particularly great about yourself, maybe it's an opportunity to build something out so you could feel better about yourself. But it's very important. Obviously, you need to be your number one fan. And sometimes you like feel like you might not be, and then that's where your community says, no, no, Hady, you are dope, and you're like, yeah, I am dope. Okay, I believe it again. I
yep.
I also I also feel like you need to create and own your narrative, and I feel like that is where we need to step into the agency and power that is ours, and not give it away. I have given away my power way too much in my lifetime, and it's like I will party. Like now that is me. I'm calling the shots for my life. I'm deciding the things that matter to me. I am prioritizing what is important to me. I'm doing the things that are going to be good for me. And and I also can choose to reject something you say that I don't agree with about me. Like,
Exactly.
because I've had like managers or peers be like this, and I'm like, no, not true.
No.
Nope, that's not true. So I do feel like you got to create your narrative and you got to own it like it's yours. And I think that kind of goes part and parcel with believing in yourself. Like when you believe in yourself, that it's going to be easier to create and own that narrative. And then the last thing I would say is, and it's kind of related to this narrative, is don't let other people dim your light. Don't let other people tell you who you are.
Yes.
You know yourself best. And you are the person that's going to create your destiny, your future, your success, everything about your life. And don't let other people try to poo-poo you, or you know get down on your dreams or your choices, or be judgy, or tell you that you haven't made a good choice, or you made a mistake, or like that wasn't good for you. No, like your light is you. We are all here to shine our light. We all have different gifts that we're bringing. We have different reasons why we're here on this earth, to be with other people. And be very careful about people who might dim your light, or situations that don't allow you to shine in the best way possible. I've been in those situations, and you feel like that tension, and you're like, pero like, ven acá, like, this is not, why do I feel weird? Or why does this feel like I'm like someone, I feel like I'm literally like someone is like stepping on me and like not letting me
Uh-huh.
shine. And I like shining. So I'm like, no, I need to be in a situation where I can shine, and
Where I'm the sun.
yeah, I can be positive. Like my gift to the world, a lot of it has to do with positivity and words of
Mhm.
affirmation. Like that's so important to me. And I want people to, in a genuine way, to really find ways to feel good about themselves and about like the contributions they make. And when I am not allowed to do that, or like I feel like I'm in a situation that doesn't allow me to really shine in the way that I think I can, I need to remove myself from that situation, or try to fix, the whatever is causing it to happen.
Exactly. You shared so many great things throughout this interview. I don't even want it to end. I hope that everybody's been taking notes. And if you didn't, you better rewind this whole entire episode and take some notes because there were so many great things dropped by Javi. And I just want to thank you so much for joining me today. I know you have a lot going on. I know how busy you are. I keep up with you on socials. And I'm just so grateful that I met you, and I'm grateful that we have crossed paths in this lifetime. So thank
You
you so
too.
much for being here today. And I
I
want
want
to,
to I want to give you your flowers because I feel
oh,
like
stop it.
you're a really positive presence to me as well. And every time I see you post, I want to read what what you're up to. And you also likewise are pretty transparent when you're going through a rough time. And you talk a lot about your family and your humble beginnings and your dad. You have a lot of appreciation for your papa. And anyway, I love how what you share with the world too. I appreciate you a lot as well. Thank you
Thank
for,
you so much. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me. As somebody who's also learning how to take compliments now, because I used to shut them down and that was me dimming my own light. And now I'm like, no, I'll just say thank you. So thank you so much. So I want to let the audience know that if any part of this podcast episode resonated with you or helped you learn something new, feel free to share this episode on your story and tag me, the host, at Geraldine Naomi. And again, thank you so much for being here, Javi. And I want to give you the opportunity to share your socials to the listeners so they can stay connected with you.
yeah, I think the best place to find me is LinkedIn, Hady Mendez, Hady Mendez. I think I'm the only one, so y'all will find me pretty easily. I have like an LGBTQ plus banner in the background, and like that's how you'll definitely know it's me. And I'm also on Instagram under Hady on the web. And it's
Love
not a
that.
professional conversation going on there. It's more, like I said, my street art pictures. But those street art pictures are really important to me. And oftentimes there is a lot of overlap between street art and social justice and political commentary. And so you'll see me share things that I think are very much aligned with my values.
Yes, thank you so much. So y'all got that at Javi on the web on Instagram and Hady Mendez on LinkedIn. I hope everybody has a beautiful day. Thank you for listening.
Okay, ciao.